I always found tarot cards to be absolutely magical and enchanting. I especially adore oracle cards. They bring a sense of enchantment to one's life. But as magical and enchanting as these decks are, they can also become very complex and hard to understand. I found ways to navigate through, which is why I was able to come up with concepts to help my students as well as clients better understand tarot, which is why I decided to do this video. I wanted to help beginners better understand so that they can bring this magic into their life as well. So the difference between oracle and tarot is tarot has certain suits, the minor arcana and the major arcana. In a regular playing card deck, you have suits, hearts, spades, clubs, and diamonds. The same can be applied to the tarot deck. The minor arcana kind of goes like this: cups, swords, pentacles, and wands. And in that card deck, you have queens, kings, knights. It's set up like this. The same can be applied to a tarot deck. The Queen of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Queen of Wands. Then you have the major arcana, which kind of goes something like this: the Moon, the World, the Wheel, the Hanged Man, the Star, the Tower, Judgment, Strength, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, and so on and so forth. The tarot cards act as a mirror to your subconscious. It's a way for you to access your inner wisdom and your intuition and grow in your internal guidance and compass towards what you want to know for your daily life. This wisdom becomes more aligned with your true and authentic self, your higher self. Tarot cards represent a reflective energy known as the collective unconscious, other known as archetypes and symbols. Archetypes and symbols that we as a collective are very familiar with, whether we know it or not. The tarot cards represent a story of those archetypes and symbols. So instead of just simply reading a book, it's always good to take each card and notice the imagery within it, understanding what it represents. So let's just pick a card randomly here. Okay, let me pick Swords. This is the Swords card. What do you notice in this card? There's a woman on a boat. There's a storm brewing. There's crows at the bottom and crows in the sky. What do you think this imagery and these symbols are showing you about the story of the card? The woman in the card is also showing an emotion of contemplation, maybe even deep thinking. Is she confused on the journey she's going on? Or is she truly thinking about the path she wants to take with a decision? It seems like there's a storm brewing around her, correct? So she's in deep thought about that storm, about that situation. What else do we notice? She's carrying a piece of luggage. So there's definitely some kind of situation where she's contemplating leaving or going or moving on. And maybe this was a very difficult situation for her to make a decision on. And possibly she's sombering in deep thought. Maybe she feels saddened by the situation. This card can also mean that it's a rite of passage. Maybe she's going through a spiritual transformation, a spiritual journey. And maybe she's contemplating how that will look for her. So she's in deep thought over it. This card can also mean that someone is getting past trauma, very severe trauma that has pretty much plagued their life and caused a lot of chaos and confusion. And now they're ready to, again, transform and get through that journey. And this could be a great relief for them. And this is the time in their life where they're ready to let go. And the storm will start to settle. Based off the rest of the cards in your spread, what are the other cards telling you about this card? Play off this card to get the rest of the message. Let's go through the card deck and see what other cards we can pull to elaborate this story. Let's try the 3-card spread: past, present, and future. Okay, so I picked the Judgment card. What does this card tell me or you about the rest of this story? Let's take a look. We have a female that's releasing a higher consciousness, putting it out into the atmosphere. And when you look at her face, it almost looks like a relief. What else is in the picture? It almost looks like a portal is above her, is there not? And maybe this card to me would say she's releasing part of her soul to the other side to be better healed, because she herself is just having too much of a hard time with it in this life. So if we look at it from a future point of view, we can look at it as her releasing a part of herself. Now it could be the past where she envisions herself releasing, but she feels like there's too much judgment on that life and that it might not be accepted. This is where your intuition comes in. And this is where you really have to get with yourself and understand, what does this card mean to you and in your situation? Are you finally releasing? Or do you envision and hope for or wish for a release, but there's just too much regret and judgment that you're holding on to with that situation? So this card could have a lighter side to it, or it could have a shadow side to it, a part of your shadow that you need to be working more on to better yourself. So let's say we're going to put this in the past. It seems more logical that she's hopeful in the past to release it, but she's judging her shadow side a little too much. And in the present, she's at a fork in the road and deciding if it's finally time to release this way of thinking. So let's see where we go with the last card, the future card. Let's take the first one. Ooh, this is definitely telling me a lot about this card. You take a look. There's a man walking, and there's a horse behind him, and there's lots of pentacles. And he's actually carrying one on his back. What does this tell you about this story? If this is the past, this is the present, and this is the future, what do you think she's doing? Let's take the horse as the boat. The horse being the boat of travel. To me, I think she's made her decision. She's letting go. Even though the pentacles are of a positive nature, letting go can always be a reflection of positive nature. She's letting go. But what is she doing with the last pentacle on her back? She's holding on just a little bit of the memories. But why? If someone's traumatized, why would they hold on to a little bit and let the rest go? Could it be that she needs to hold on to that last bit of hope? maybe someday in another lifetime, this may benefit her. That's at least what this story is telling me. But you could come up with your own concept as it applies to your life. What do you think this person's doing in this card, along with the story? This card is all about diligence, determination, hard work, safety, security, and expansion. So if we're looking at this card as a whole and not applying it to her situation so much, that would be the meaning of this card. But again, the imagery that reflects within your own subconscious is going to play out the story within your life that you are currently living, that you're currently enduring. So this card in general, as a rule of thumb, means determination, hard work, and safety, security, expansion, being pragmatic, showing that you are using that hard work and the determination for your path to profit from, to gain material abundance or just subconscious abundance, whether that be love or joy or peace, maybe calming down from stress. This card can mean anything and everything to someone in their situation, and determine that story with the other cards that surround it. And taking your time to really look at the archetype, the symbols, the imagery, the artwork, and understanding what this card means to you without using the book. But for those of you who are beginners, the book is always the best option to go towards as you're learning. If you're trying to advance, always learn the cards through the book that comes with your cards. And then try to adapt your own intuition based off the story of the cards. What is the card telling you? Now, those of you who don't understand the difference between tarot and oracle, I did just show you what the tarot setup looks like. Oracle's a little bit different. It doesn't have suits to it. It doesn't have a minor or major arcana. It just has imagery and words. And it always does have an accompaniment of a booklet to follow. But eventually you want to steer away from that and start using your own intuition with the cards. So let's just randomly pick 3 cards, past, present, and future, like we did with the tarot. And I'm going to pick 3 cards. Oh, I pulled out 2 already. And I'll go for a 3rd. Oh, I pulled out a 4th. Let's just go with the 3rd. All right, so if this is our past, which is acceptance, and our present is healing, and our 3rd is self-love. This is definitely someone who is having trouble accepting who they are. The acceptance of the past being trouble with coming to an imagery or imagination of creativity of seeing yourself in a positive light. If you constantly see yourself in a negative light, that's all you're going to continue seeing in your life, as well as yourself as a personal being who's come to Earth to learn from the human experience. This is someone that needs to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I am worth more than what I'm thinking. The healing is the present, that they've accepted the fact that they need to change the way they think. The last card, the future card, told it all about this story. If I just had the 2 cards, it could go in many directions. It could be someone that's going through a loss of a loved one and having to accept that healing. This could also mean someone feeling very sick and having to accept a diagnosis of healing. The 3rd card is what told it all, the future card. The direction of the acceptance and the healing was going towards self-love, showing that this person was trying to heal and accept their own loving course of learning towards themselves instead of someone else. So it's not so much an acceptance of healing through health, but more of the subconscious and unconscious. Understanding to love the human part, even though your soul already loves itself. It's trying to adapt that part of your higher self into the physical. It's very difficult, but you can eventually accomplish it just with a lot of meditation, intention, and changing the way you think. The Oracle deck is a little bit easier because it is set up with words, intentions, and creativity towards that card meaning. So there's no guesswork. You can simply just look up the card, and it's a generalized meaning for each individual card. It's just like pulling a crystal. Each crystal has its own meaning. The oracle part of a crystal is, how is this crystal different from the rest? Even though there's a generalized meaning for the crystal, it still has its own intuition, its own individualistic wisdom. How does it make it different from the rest? So an aura quartz connects you to angels, fairies, and like the ethereal realms of the subconscious and the unconscious. It's the world you can't see. It's the realm beyond. So if I look at this crystal, what does it say to me about being different? Yes, you can connect me to angels and fairies and other worldly realms, but how are you different? What is your archetype and your personality? What's your symbolism? To me, when I hold this crystal and what it's done in my life, that is how I can tell the differentiality. And the oracle cards are the same way. Every day when you pull cards from the oracle deck, it's teaching you something about yourself. Just applying those words, the imagery, the symbolism, and the meaning, you will understand what the oracle deck is trying to say to you intuitively. You will just know the message. It takes a little work and it takes a little practice, but you will eventually understand what the message is trying to tell you with a little practice. Same goes with crystals. If you really want to know the differentiality and the uniqueness of that crystal, spend a little time with it. Spend a week with one crystal and journal what it's doing in your life, things that you're noticing. Is it sending you numbers? Is it sending you messages? Is it sending you the color it is? So let's say, for example, you're on social media and this color just keeps popping up everywhere. Or you're looking on the internet and all of a sudden you see these colors in the imagery or photography of the things you're seeing on the internet. Is it sending you color messages? The color pink is all about love, especially self-love. And I find it very unique that I picked my pink hair today. And we're talking about self-love and a self-love kind of crystal. It just adds up. It just synchronizes and comes together. This crystal for me always brought me joy. And when I can hear her, because I can hear crystals, she has a giggly laughter. It's almost like being around like an 8 or 10-year-old. She has a fun exuberance and charming nature. And that is her archetype and her life lessons of being here. She's teaching me how to be more happy and how to love myself through joy. That's her job. And the oracle deck is doing the same thing for you. It's showing you how to adapt these concepts into your life so you can better understand what your higher self is trying to say to you or what your guides are trying to say to you. You'll know who's talking to you by the way the cards are speaking to you. Is it an outside source speaking, or is it speaking directly to you, as if you're sitting with yourself talking one-on-one? Let's go more in depth with what each suit of the tarot represents. This is something that I will be teaching in more detail in my course. The first one being cups. Cups represents your emotion, your emotional level of consciousness, the feelings that you have. So when you pull a cups card, you're going to know that it represents emotions and feelings. The next is swords. This is ambition. This is what you're pushing out of your mind. This is the actions and the courage that you have. And this is the perception that you're pulling into your life. Pentacles represents your material aspects of life, your material wealth and objects. What are you gaining and absorbing into your life through abundance, wealth, and money? Then we have Wands. Wands represents creativity, intuition, inspiration, spirituality. These are the amazing aspects of Wands, which is probably why this card and this suit are my favorite besides Cups. I'm very emotional with my intuition, so these suits I'll be very drawn to when they pop up in my reading. And when you see aces within these suits, it's a very good sign, especially when you have 2 or more. It means things are looking up. Next, I want to show you what each element represents for each suit. So you have Cups, and Cups is the emotional card, and this represents, obviously, water or liquid. Next, we have Swords, which represents air. Pentacles represents earth. And finally, Wands represents fire. So I hope you take this knowledge of the difference between Oracle and Tarot and adapt it to your life. Do you prefer Oracle or Tarot? I tend to use both, but I find that the Oracle gives me a broader positive sense when it comes to getting a message for my clients. I do tend to throw a little bit of Tarot in there, but I do prefer the Oracle. So I hope this journey with your Oracle and Tarot decks teaches you something amazing about your life, and keep practicing. Don't stop practicing just because you find it very difficult. Eventually, over time, it will become easier, and you will start to notice that you can trust your own mind, your intuition, and your wisdom. And I wish you luck. Let me know in the comments section which one you prefer, Oracle or Tarot.